Okay, welcome everyone. I hope you're enjoying the beautiful weather this week. I know a lot of us were earlier this week at the press conference, which was a big success. We'll talk about later. I'd like to invite everyone to stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance. Okay, before we jump into the minutes, planning and ops usually gets to report out the good news, but today the Finance Committee's got a little bit of good news to share. August Schweitzer, it's your second anniversary today at Metro. Congratulations.
So sweet, so sweet.
All right. Well, happy second anniversary. Okay, so hopefully everyone has had a chance to review the minutes from last meeting. I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes. So moved. Seconded? Second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. The minutes are approved from the March 19th meeting. Okay, a couple briefing items today. Norman will present us the internal audit charter presentation. Norman?
All right. So I'm here to talk about a crucial aspect of our organization's governance framework, the establishment of our audit charter for our newly formed internal audit department. So if you want to go ahead and fast forward to the purpose. So as we think about how we want to formalize this process and the function of the internal audit, the audit charter is like the cornerstone, the foundation of what this internal audit will be at SORTA. So it serves to outline the purpose, the authority, the scope, responsibility, accountability, and the effectiveness of our governance process. So I'll hit a couple of key items that are included within the charter just to kind of give you an overview of what it pertains. So if you want to fast forward 2 slides, thank you very much. So the scope of work, basically that's the audit charter. It clearly defines the scope of the internal audit function, the activities that we do, ensures that we're comprehensive coverage of the risk and controls within the organization. Accountability, it establishes accountability by delineating the responsibilities of the internal audit department and setting the clear expectations for performance and outcomes. Independence and objectivity. Charter emphasizes the importance of maintaining the independence and objectivity in conducting our audits, ensuring unbiased evaluations and recommendations. Responsibility. It specifies the responsibility of the internal audit department, including roles in assessing risk, evaluating controls, and providing assurance and advisory services to the management and the board. Authority. Charter outlines the authority granted to the internal audit department, ensuring that the information, personnel, and resources necessary to fulfill our functions is effectively. And the professional standards. It references relevant professional standards, regulations, and best practices that the internal audit must adhere to, ensuring compliance and upholding the highest standards or professionalism and integrity. And one major call out regarding the audit charter and the internal audit function in itself is one that was not required for the organization, but one where Daryl had a vision to see improvement, within our organization and the processes. So as much as we can, we established this charter to hold myself accountable, hold the organization accountable, and make sure it's clear what I'm supposed to be doing as a department, what you guys are supposed to be receiving as far as report outs and those type of things. So with that being said, we established this framework, promotes accountability, transparency, and effectiveness in our internal audit function, ultimately contributing to the achievement of organization goals and objectives. With that being said, that concludes the overview of the audit charter, and just want to open up for any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Bowie. And Daryl for putting the task out there for the group to coordinate. So the charter itself is in our documents here. Do we need to make a motion to approve the charter or not?
No, you don't. This is an internal management function.
Okay.
Right? and it doesn't require action of the board.
Okay.
But the charter includes the framework, which will require our internal function to report out regularly to the board, but it doesn't require the approval of this committee.
Right, okay. Good, so that's a nice briefing item. Any questions for Mr. Bowie? Okay, thank you, Norman.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Second briefing item on our agenda. Andy, we'll turn the microphone over to you for our financial results as of March 31st.
All right. Thank you. We are concluding the first quarter of our fiscal year. It's a really good time to look at where we are, take stock, and in terms of our budget. As you all know, we prepare this budget in the October, November timeline. So we're really kind of 6 months away from a lot of the assumptions that we made in the budget. And it's good to get a look at how we're performing over the first quarter. If we turn to page 4, we'll start with passenger revenue. And our operating revenue from passenger fares is up over budget in the first quarter. No big surprises in January, February, March. We turn to page 5, and we look at our expense profile. Again, no major surprises with respect to expenses. We'll cover any deviations in the more detailed P&L. On page 6, summary of our profit and loss. Our total revenue was $14.1 million for the month, which was favorable to budget by about $500,000. Our total expense was $13 million, which was favorable by $670,000. When you combine those two things, we're showing a surplus in the month of March of $1.1 million, which is favorable by 1.165. So what is implied there, and what we'll see in the detailed P&L sheet, is that we were projecting a deficit for March. If you remember, over the course of 12 months, some months we were projecting surpluses and some deficit. So this was a month in which we were projecting a slight deficit of $65,000, and we wound up with a $1.1 million surplus. We'll talk about the root cause there. Ridership is 1.1 million, slightly unfavorable to budget. We'll cover ridership in detail in the Planning and Ops Committee. From a revenue perspective, again, ridership is slightly below budget. However, passenger revenue remains strong. We're slightly over budget in the passenger revenue area. Non-transportation revenue was favorable by $420,000, and the root cause there is the timing of our investment income. We don't receive investment income in our laddered portfolio on a 1/12 basis. You know, some of those investments hit quarterly, some hit biannually. So we're ahead of the budget for the year, but well ahead of the budget for this month in March. County sales tax, very important piece of our operating revenue, is again on budget because we're still waiting for April until we get results for January, right? So we're projecting and recording county sales tax per budget on a monthly basis for the first quarter, and we'll start to true up in April. Federal grants are on budget. From an expense perspective, wages and benefits are favorable. Fuel and lubricants, slightly unfavorable for the month, but favorable year to date. Parts and supplies, also slightly unfavorable for the month, but favorable year to date. And all other remains favorable, and the root cause there is timing of outsourced services. If we turn to page 7 and look at the detailed P&L, just some major things that stick out when you look here. We are favorable to budget in terms of operating revenue. We're favorable to budget in terms of non-operating revenue, and we're also favorable year to date in terms of expenses. Right now, we're sitting at a $2.9 million surplus for the first quarter. We had projected about a $2.5 million surplus for the year. Some of that will erode over time due to timing of revenues and expenses. But 1 quarter in, we feel very confident about where we are with our budget in 2024. Last page is our investment summary, $173 million in the summary reserve. You'll see the set-asides and obligations. Those have not changed dramatically since last month. And we're projecting a year-end surplus of around $4.2 million unrestricted. Covered a lot there. Happy to answer any questions regarding the March financial statement.
Okay, thank you, Andy. A couple items. One, just to remind, and for newer board members to know that the county sales tax is based on projections provided by University of Cincinnati, which department?
The Economic Center.
Economic Center at UC. So they provide us the projections. We put that in our budget, then we true it up second quarter of the year
Correct.
usually.
We're 3 months in arrears when it comes to receiving the county sales tax. So again, maybe I can maybe Julie can answer this question in terms of the detailed accrual of that. But for the first 3 months, we just budget what UC's projection is for those 3 months.
No, that's all. I just wanted to
Yeah,
mention
and
for
in
newer members
April-
why.
In April, we'll actually get January receipts,
Okay.
and then we'll true up for the last 9 months of the year.
Okay. And on the CPS numbers, I noticed those were slightly off. A lot of these are favorable to budget, but the CPS ridership in March was down. Is that spring break or what is that?
Yeah. So what's interesting is the revenue is up, right? Ridership is slightly down, and we can cover that in the ridership report. Go ahead.
Yeah, we can talk it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So with respect to CPS ridership, I'm not exactly sure root cause. You want to cover that?
So we charge CPS for passes. So it's based on the number of students that have passes. That's where the revenue comes from. Ridership comes from the number of times that they use the pass. So depending on how many times a student rides throughout the month, that drives the ridership. The revenue is driven by the number of students that have passes. So you can have a disconnect between those two.
We had that last month too, not
Yes.
necessarily CPS, but in general, we had a lot of pass sales, so we had good revenue.
That's correct.
But then we have it again this month.
Yes.
That seems unexpected to me.
So one of the
Could be. Yeah.
one of the things that we did years ago is we used to capture revenue from passes based on ridership. And then we had these huge true-ups every 5 years. So we moved from capturing revenue based on ridership to capturing the revenue on passes based on when they're purchased. So a lot of agencies will go into the sales office and buy 6 months worth of passes based on when they get their funding. So there is some disconnect based on when some of those large purchases of bus passes come in. And of course, we don't know when each of the agencies are going to come in and say, give me 200 30-day passes. But that revenue is based actually on when those passes are sold, as well as the fares on the bus and the fares on the app, so forth and so on. But we have a lot of agencies that buy in bulk. So there are some months where there's some disconnect, not possible to budget that way because we never know when they're going to come in and do some of those bulk purchases.
Curious who these bulk purchasers are. We should send them a thank you note.
Happy to share because we do know who they are.
Great.
That's great. Thank you. Any questions or comments for Andy?
I had one other question. So back on the first slide where we have that dollar figure by day. Yep. Forward. There we go. So average revenue per day. I don't know what number to expect there or how to evaluate it. You know, it goes up 31, 38, 35.
And again,
can you
it's
help
also
us?
yeah. So it's just another way to look at the same data, right? You'll also see that in the note we list the number of weekdays, right? So in March we had 21 weekdays. So we have more ridership and more revenue on months where we have more weekdays than months where we have more weekends. So it's just another way to look at the same data and to see if there are any significant trends there. In February, a lot of our ridership, a lot of our revenue, as Daryl mentioned, is pass purchase, but there are fewer days, right? We still get the same amount of revenue in the month, so you'll see a higher average revenue per day. But I wouldn't read too much into that in terms of the significance. It's really just another way to look at the same data.
Another thing you have to think through is when weather is really bad, you've got 30-day passes, you've got day passes. People will ride less on those when the weather is really good, and I've got a day pass. Instead of taking just 2 trips, I might take 3 or 4. Same thing with 30-day passes. So it will fluctuate by number of weekdays in a month, as well as how the ridership in that month pans out.
Great. Any more, Blake? You're pondering.
When I see data, I start to I want to see trends and what's the KPI and that kind of thing. And I've been enjoying it and as a curiosity, but then when I was looking at it before, I was like, what are my parameters here on this? And I couldn't figure it out. And I think your answer aligns with kind of where I was at with it too. So thank you.
Okay. Any more feedback or comments for Andy? Okay, great. No action items on that briefing, but the following is our only action item early of the day is to approve the investment of funds reports. So the yield through the first quarter seems strong, just below 5%. And Andy reported out the amount of money that'll be surplus. Do we need to go through any more of the detail here?
No, I don't believe so. The only significant thing to note in these two reports is that you'll see a drawdown in March of $4.6 million in the Metro Investment of Funds report, and that is the local share and Metro's share of the fixed route bus purchases that were made in the first quarter of 2024. You recall that when you see this $173 million and you see all the obligations, when we do those projects and we buy those buses, those are obligations that we turn into spend. And so that $4.6 million is a perfect example. The bulk of that was funding used for our 2024 fixed route bus purchase.
Good. Helpful. So I'll entertain a motion to approve the investment of funds report. Is there a second? Jay? Okay. Jay seconds. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Or Natalie, do we need to do a roll call, or is that okay? Do a voice vote?
No,
Just voice vote fine? Okay. Okay, the investment of funds report's approved. Thank you, everyone. The MTIF. Oh, I'm sorry.
So sorry, Dan. Jay is out of the Hamilton County.
Oh,
We'll need
Jay.
someone else to second.
I
if we
did
can.
that. I
So-
asked Jay to second it. So Sarah's going to second it. Ms. Sheets is going to second it. So I put forth a motion. Ms. Sheets seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Thank you, everybody. And the second report, that vote is for both of them, right? Okay. Very good. Is there any new business that anybody would like to bring up? Ms. Sheets.
I do. I am curious to know what is the status of the CFO search. We have not heard anything about that in a while.
We are starting the interview process right now. We've got several candidates that we're hopeful.
Okay, thank you.
So, since you brought it up, what is the process? Could you help us understand what the process looks like?
We hired a search firm. We first attempted to do this on our own.
Right.
Did not get a pool that we were happy with, so we hired a search firm. We've gotten resumes in. We've reviewed resumes. We do the HR department scans them, and then we've set up interviews to start the in-person interviews.
Okay. So if anybody comes, if people come to you as board members with candidacies that are interested in being CFOs
Yes.
of our organization, we should refer them to you and you'll refer them to the search firm?
Absolutely.
Okay.
And we've gotten a couple of really good candidates from our board, so we really appreciate the board being involved.
Good. And the information's out there publicly, but how?
Yes, it's out on our website. Yes,
Okay.
careers page. Yes.
Does that help? Okay. All right. I'm glad you brought it up. So, okay. I'll entertain a motion to close the Finance Committee meeting. Okay. Second. And our meeting is adjourned. 5 minutes to spare. Blake?
All right. Jay,
I move to approve the minutes.
thank you. Can I get a second? Oh, and I will turn my mic on. I'm sorry. So probably moved and seconded. All in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed say left. All right, any abstentions? None. Great. So let's move right into the good news. There's a lot, as usual, and it's executive team today.
Yes. So you're used to seeing Mr. Ravazio up here, the master of the good news. He and Adrian are in contract negotiations today. So it's going to be a team effort to cover good news today. And we're going to start with Ben Cole, who's going to go over our February and March Silver Wheel Award recipients.
Hello, everybody. I am the Director of Learning, so I have the privilege of managing this process in my team. Today we have some really great folks that won our awards. The first is Dundinitu Anagba. Mr. Anagba is highly dependable, comes in on his days off when he is needed. He has no disciplinary issues. He has a 93.7% on-time percentage and only a 5.5% late percentage for February. He maintains a professional relationship with passengers and his coworkers and creates a positive work environment. Don McBride is the person that nominated Dundinitu. Next, we have Leroy Davis from Access in Bond Hill, Operator of the Month. Leroy has only been here for 7 months, but he's obviously made an impact. He's developed professional relationships with internal and external customers. He consistently performs high-quality work, and in February, he has 0 absences, 0 customer service complaints, 0 disciplinary action, and a 97.6% on-time percentage. Sean Gatherwright was the person that nominated him. Next, we have Scott Baker. Scott is a body repair person. He performs responsibilities beyond expectations. He is always willing to help his colleagues when needed. He displays exceptional dependability. He double-checks every detail on his checklist before releasing a coach from the shop and cares about the quality of his work. Annabella DeLuca was the nominator. Next, we have Richard Barwick, who is a utility worker. Richard has excellent job knowledge, is always willing to share his knowledge with others. He helps make sure the buses are cleaned and fueled and ready to go for service every single day. He displays a positive attitude and is highly dependable. Chris Radcliffe was his nominator. Next, we have Curtis Hudson for the Leadership Award. He is a division supervisor at Queensgate. Curtis is always looking to improve conditions for safety for operators and passengers. He recognizes the needs of the customers and the passengers. He noticed a dark corner, for example, at night at Government Square, where people were congregating. He did not only bring up the issue, but he also provided recommendations on how to fix that. Bill Harris was his nominator. And finally, our Administrative and Support Award goes to Kisha Kiner. She's a clerk at Queensgate. Kisha comes to work early and creates a positive environment. She has great customer service skills and provides proper assistance to visitors. Kisha displays exceptional dependability and is always willing to help others. She has created a sign-in sheet, for example, which was very helpful in tracking relief keys at Queensgate. Kisha was nominated by Chiffon Tarpley. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I particularly enjoy hearing about new operators with high OTP.
We love to see that.
Yeah. Please go that extra mile to find out if there's a reason, a secret sauce, something that helped them get that OTP so we can share it with everybody else.
Excellent. Blake, thanks. I'll do that.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Turn it over to Brandy.
Good morning. So we had the honor of hosting the acting administrator from the Federal Transit Administration on Tuesday, and I know several of you came out to help celebrate that great news, so thank you for your support and participation. So we got the call from FTA that they wanted to come to Cincinnati to make a major announcement regarding some upgrades that they were making to their transit passenger safety plan program. And really it talks to how agencies should work with their union leaders and members to evaluate the risk and come up with solutions that can reduce operator costs as well as keeping our passengers more safe when they are using our service. And Cincinnati, according to the administrator, is a model example of such a partnership. And so they came here to make that huge national announcement. And so we were thrilled to have that recognition as well as to host the FTA, as well as members from national of the ATU and the AFL-CIO leaders. So that was certainly a great day for Cincinnati. And again, thank you all for your support and continued support around the work that our team is doing internally to make a safer workforce for our team members as well as our customers. Speaking of our support from our federal and state legislators, we had a state day here on last Friday where we had representatives and state senators join us to get an update on Metro. So we are grateful to Senator Kathy Ingram, Representatives Cecil Thomas, Bill Seitz, Dunny Isaacson, and Cedric Denson, who came and spent some time with us. We shared with them updates around our reinventing Metro plan, as well as our bus rapid transit corridor project and our Metro Now service. And they were thrilled to hear those updates. And I got a call from Representative Thomas the day after that he went on a radio show and shared those updates with the community. So certainly our messaging is getting out there. And we're also grateful for our state leaders and their support with helping us advance transit here locally. We are inviting the community members to join our STEER committee and help us as we improve our customer experience for our riders. The STEER committee stands for Strategic Transit Engagement to Expand Ridership. And right now, we have been operating this committee. It had a different name a few years ago. It was our Rider Advisory Committee. And we have renamed it and revamped it and given it a lot more energy. And so this group, as you see pictured, has been with around improvements we can make and suggestions that are helping us improve how our customers engage with us from the time they leave their home using our app to when they reach a bus stop, as well as their experience on our buses all the way to the end of their destination. And if you know of anyone who is interested in joining that committee, we have applications that will be open through May 1st. They can apply on our website, and we are looking forward to having new members join that group as well. We are approaching Earth Day this month, and there's no greener way to go than Metro. And so you can look for the Metro team. They'll have a table at the Greater Cincinnati Earth Coalition Day on April 27th at Summit Park. So please do stop by. We'll have one of our new hybrid buses on site for any members in the community who wants to get on and check it out. And speaking of hybrid buses, 10 more are coming into our fleet, and they will be launching into service on Earth Day. So it was a great opportunity, and we couldn't miss that opportunity to take advantage of adding to our fleet even more greener vehicles and encouraging the community to leave their keys at home and hop on board. We are approaching Bike Month in May, and on May 17th, it is National Bike to Work Day. Anyone who uses our bike wraps, we have 2 on front of every bus, they can ride Metro free that trip. And so it's a great way to encourage people to consider biking and busing. It makes a perfect pair. And so again, on May 17th, we're inviting the community to let Metro get you up those steep Cincinnati hills, throw your bike on the rack, and take us for a portion of your trip that day. And last, but certainly not least, I'm excited to share that our advertising and marketing department received 2 awards. We received 2 Addy Awards from the American Advertising Association, a bronze award for our Get Up and Go Metro marketing campaign, which highlights all the many ways that our community can take Metro to experience everything our community has to offer. And the second was for the partnership that we had with the NAACP for the Your Voice is Your Vote vehicle. We helped them inspire the rap on their bus, and so that was another marketing campaign that we partnered with them on. So we're really proud of our marketing team. Congratulations to them on these 2 national recognitions. Thank you.
Thank you, Brandy. Again, another month full of awards. This one is very important, I know, to the board and to our entire team. Metro was recognized by the Ohio Department of Transportation Division of Opportunity, Diversity, and Inclusion as the Transit System / Airport of the Year by ODOT. Congratulations there. You can see Tara Walker from our team pictured with Dr. Jack Marchbanks, who is the Executive Director of ODOT. Want to recognize John Edmondson, our Senior Director of Procurement, and his team for all the outstanding work that they do. I know this is a passionate point for the board. What appears to happen is every time we go out and are recognized for our DBE purchasing program, someone there sees it and tells somebody else, right? And they just keep rolling on because there's such important and productive work going on in this space by that team. So with that, that concludes the news.
Has Tara been here for 5 years?
She has.
I think now.
She has.
And of concentrated, dedicated work on improving this. And when I saw the 5 years along with this, I was like, good job.
Yes. We recognized Tara in our quarterly administrative meeting last night or yesterday afternoon for her 5 years of outstanding service.
Excellent.
And I have to say thank you to this board for your focus and pushing us to make sure that we do the right thing every single solitary day. So this is an award for the board as well as the staff.
Gwen, did you walked in right as he was going through that last announcement? Did you hear?
Can we go back one slide, Ms. Natalie? Yeah, so the Ohio Department of Transportation, Division of Opportunity, Diversity, and Inclusion named Metro the Public Transit System / Airport of the Year for our work in DBE spending and outreach.
Thank you so much. Congratulations. Much deserved.
Yes. Yes.
I've got a quick question.
Yep.
Relates with the bike racks. So as people maybe we see an increase in bikers that use our buses through the years. That rack we have now, is it designed for 2 bikes? Is that what you said? Yes. Okay. And how do we handle it, or how do people handle it when there are, say, 4 people that have a bike? Does that ever happen? And when it does happen, what do we do about it?
They would have to wait for the next bus. There are racks that will hold 3 bikes.
Okay.
We're not at the point in bike usage and bus.
Yeah, so that hasn't come up yet as a subject. And is there a way to put a bike, let's say there are 3 bikes at once. Is there a way to put one on the bus or no?
No, for safety reasons, no.
Yeah. All right, I understand liability, but
Those
Yeah.
can be brought on board
Okay.
as long as you can safely place them behind the seat. So that's the only exception to that.
okay. That might be something that comes up in the future.
Do we collect data on, like, say we have to turn down a
We currently do not. But that is a good idea.
I want to note there was one other event this past month that I thought was particularly impressive. Daryl spoke at it with several other regional leaders. And what really grabbed my attention was everybody there talked about transit, talked about connecting communities. We were the focus for the entire event. I mean, and it was supposed to be about economic development, and there were architects and developers and all these other people there, and the conversation just kept coming back to SORTA. And that was a really neat thing to see happen. Daryl did a good job. The whole team did a good job supporting that event. So I wanted to share that too in case anybody missed that. So good stuff all around. We do have some service quality metrics and ridership to go through. And, there's always opportunities for improvement. So please ask questions about that as we go through it. Andy.
All right, thank you. Looking at our service quality metrics, if you recall, in January, we talked about our service quality plan for 2024, kind of 3 pillars that we're continuing to focus on in 2024, on-time performance, operator retention, and then we've begun trying to procure the consultant for a deep dive into our maintenance and vehicle reliability processes. So those 3 efforts continue in earnest. We'll be reporting back to the board when we hit milestones with those 3 initiatives. Missed trips were in target for the first quarter. You see we averaged about 24 missed trips per weekday in March. Ridership was right on target, slightly below 1.1 million rides in March, and we'll go over that in the ridership report. OTP remains stubborn. You've talked about the fact that we have hired 150 new operators in the last 12 months, and statistically, those folks don't run as well with respect to on-time performance as more veteran operators, so we still are working through that process as well. The, I guess, unfortunate news for March is that you can see our fixed-route operator headcount dipped. Our turnover rate has remained relatively steady, as you see just below that, ticked up a little bit in March. This is largely the result of hiring slowing down over the winter months. We had a hard time filling that pipeline in November, December, January, getting people to change jobs or start a new job. So we put fewer people in the pipeline in the last quarter of 23, which means by the end of the first quarter of 24, we're lagging behind. We will see that uptick in April. We have 30 folks in training right now. So a little bit of a lull. We're hopeful to get right back on target here in the late spring, early summer. Again, a little tick up in turnover. Where miles between mechanical service interruptions are largely on target, as well as preventable accidents for the first quarter of 2024. Happy to answer any questions that folks have about our service quality metrics.
It's approximately 2 months from beginning training to being in service.
Yeah, 8 to 10 weeks.
8 to 10 weeks.
Depending
okay.
upon a number of factors, whether somebody has a CDL, which garage they're going to be operating out of, which means how many routes they need to train on. But essentially, it's 8 to 10 weeks. We have a pipeline that we all look at on a daily basis to see how trainees are tracking through that system.
I think it's all connected, right? The missed trips, the OTP, and the ridership.
Yep.
And this is one of the biggest levers we can turn to try and improve all of that. Is there anything more we can do? You don't have to answer that now, but I think,
Yep.
I'm sure you're constantly looking at this, but as a board, I think we have to ask, is there something more we can do
Yes.
to get to that target number?
As challenging as this is, and it is very, very challenging, I am really proud to say we are doing better than most transit agencies in the country, because most transit agencies in the country they've cut service. We've added service. So that challenge for us is even greater, because we need more operators because we're adding service. I am proud of the team for the work that they've done to get operators here, to get them trained, to get their service on the street. It is a challenge, and maybe even a bigger challenge for us than other transit systems, because we continue to add more service.
And I think, Blake, to your point, we'll be reporting out on our operator retention task force work. It's just like, in business, it's more effective to keep an existing customer than to recruit a new one, right? So we're continuing to hire at a very good clip, but we also need to be very intentional about keeping our operators and learning about why those that are leaving are leaving. So if you remember, this board allowed us to hire a firm that's doing exit interviews. We now are starting to get enough data to have some learnings behind that. And there's a cross-functional team that has been meeting, and we'll report back to this board so you get a sense of what that retention task force is doing. I think the other piece is from a labor market perspective. This has been a very hot labor market for years now, right? I mean, we thought maybe in March we would see a little bit of slowdown, but again, we saw 300,000 jobs nationally, 3.8% unemployment. That type of market also contributes to turnover, right? It's easy to get a job right now, and that hasn't abated. So it's not an excuse, but we are operating in a very difficult labor environment. And we know that.
Doubt. I mean,
Yeah.
we are outperforming almost any other agency. I don't know an agency doing better than we are on this, but we want to continue to improve our metrics, get that ridership up, because getting that ridership
Yes.
is the revenue that supports all the increases to our operations that we need. So I think it's worth constantly saying, is there anything else we can do? Which is not in any way a criticism of staff.
100%.
You're doing great, but let's get there to that number. Yeah.
So at what point do we stop or pause adding service so we can focus on improving these metrics?
We have paused.
Okay,
W-
so that
We
was-
were supposed to add phase 3 in December of last year. We did not implement phase 3. We have paused adding service until
okay,
we can catch up with operators.
okay, thank you.
Since in 2023, we had a set of strategic initiatives that we put in place. What, if any, gains are you seeing when you couch Q1 for 24 to 23?
Yeah, we saw significant improvement by the end of 2023. We ended 2022 averaging 95 missed trips a weekday, and we finished 23 around 30 missed trips a weekday. And you can see we're still in target for 24. You know, our goal is to keep pushing to zero, keep pushing to zero. So part of the strategy for 24 was to lock in a lot of those gains that we saw in 23. I think we have a short-term challenge here with the seasonal dip in hiring, but a lot of there's no silver bullet. There's no huge low-hanging fruit in this area. It's just constant gardening and constant work at it. So we did lock in those gains from 23, and we're hopeful that we can now push quality even higher in 24. If that answers your question or not.
Yeah, that's good. The other thing, when we were approving a lot of the advertising for hiring and what that would look like, several of the hiring advertisements were in Spanish. I'm interested with the onset of 100 plus new operators, what percentage of those are Hispanic?
We don't have the percentages. I know we have hired some Hispanics. I can get that for you. Not as many as we'd hoped, and we continue for that push. But I can get those numbers for you.
One of the things that I'm seeing, I went to one of the CPS hiring events, and they're promoting career, using the term career versus a job. Are we hiring? If you go around town, you see the signs, we're hiring. That's not a career, that's just a job. And if we focus more, we probably have to start, I'm gonna say, at the earliest stage. Say, if we get to the seniors and say, hey, there's a career opportunity, I think that's what they're looking for, is that career piece, not just the job piece. And we're not by ourselves, because I was laughing at truck companies, hey, it's the career to drive up and down the street, you know. So I think it's the terminology and how it's sticking to people, and we start early. But we're not by ourselves.
Very helpful, thank you. Yes, and you're correct. This
That's
is
why
a,
people think they can jump from job to job, they just see a sign out there, we're hiring. And we gotta focus on, we're hiring, but there's a career opportunity here.
thank you.
Any other questions about service metrics? All right. Thank you for bringing those, Andy, and we'll look forward to next quarter more on those. But if there's anything else in between, then please bring it to us. All right. Mark Simon, you want to go over ridership in more detail for us? Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Mark Sman. I'll be going over the March ridership report with you all today.
Morning.
For the month of March, our total ridership was 1,080,000, with local service carrying 1,052,000 of that, and express service carrying approximately 27,000 passengers. Overall, this was unfavorable to budget by 4.8% for fixed route and 4.2% unfavorable for local. Next slide, please. Ridership continued its general trend up over the past 4 years, as you can see here, as we get into the warmer months. Next slide, please. Average weekday ridership was 41,705, unfavorable to budget by 7%. Average Saturday ridership was 22,800, favorable to budget by 12%. And average Sunday ridership was just shy of 18,000, which was just unfavorable to budget by 0.4%. Local service achieved a productivity of 17.6 passengers per hour and a cost recovery of 9.8%. Next slide, please. Express service achieved a productivity of 7.9 passengers per trip and a cost recovery of around 11.7%. Next slide, please. On-time performance remained about the same with an OTP of 78.8% in March. Fine. And in March, there were 780 missed trips with 98.9% of scheduled service delivered. And as a reminder, a missed trip does not necessarily mean the bus did not leave the garage. Trips can be considered missed if the bus is late by more than 15 minutes to any one of its time points, which can happen for an infinite number of reasons. Next slide, please. Oh, there we go. Here you have the missed trips by day. That big spike is St. Patrick's Day. And my friends across the country noted all transit agencies had a similar spike on that day for two reasons. Those that want to drink and those that want to avoid the drinkers. Next slide. Average missed trips by day. St. Patrick's Day was on a Sunday, so that is why that number is so high. Opening day was a Thursday. Next slide, please. On to access.
Mark,
So, yeah.
Before you move on, one of the things I'd like to say is when we did the budget for last year, we actually budgeted to do phase 3 in December. We did not roll out phase 3 in December. So that is one of the reasons that our ridership is not hitting our budget, because we budgeted for that increased ridership for the additional service in December. We are still over last year's ridership, so our ridership is still growing, but not at the clip that we expected it to grow because we did not roll out phase 3. Also on our missed trips, 21% of our missed trips happen on those 2 days, opening day and St. Patrick's Day.
That brings up a really interesting point from Tuesday and then St. Patrick's Day, and the two reasons that Mark just noted, that the people who want to avoid maybe people who've indulged a little too much, and driver safety, not just a tax, but yeah, I've heard of passengers spitting on drivers and that kind of thing. And I heard that we're installing more barriers and improving driver safety in the year to come. Could you have a quick update on that? Not all the details, but yeah.
So all of our buses have barriers on them. Only about 30% of our buses have the safety barriers. They're real thick glass. We will be installing the shields on the entire fleet this year. It's something that'll come to this board. We're putting the thick glass, the shields that go further out. We're going to install them on the entire fleet. We will get it started this year, hopefully get it finished this year. Depends on how fast our vendor can actually do that.
So there's an additional connection there as we
Yes.
make those improvements.
Yes.
Also reduce missed trips, right? Especially on particular days like that, and other days where it may be less obvious, but that factor is involved. Very interesting. Thank you, Mark.
And we do attempt to plan for those by asking more people to come in and work overtime and whatnot. But because of the labor market, and we're not at our required number of operators just yet, we still struggle on days like that.
Thank you, Mark.
Yep.
Keep going.
All right. Access. Access ridership in the month of March was 15,160, which is unfavorable to budget by 11.5%. Weekday ridership, and this is the total amount of riders per day type, was 13,575. Saturdays was 810, and Sundays ridership was 775. Large increases in the weekend ridership compared to last year. Next slide, please. And here, similar to fixed route, is the access ridership by month, which continues its general trend like fixed route, going up. Slide, please. On-time performance for access jumped to 88.8% in the month of March. Productivity was 2 passengers per hour compared to the KPI of 2.2, and the cost per passenger was $61.43. with the note that I think there was a capital purchase of stuff for the Access office that was included in that number. So that's kind of like a one-time bump for the month of March.
One of the other things I want to point out, as we merged Metro Now into Access, we're really doing an evaluation of the cost per trip because we have to make sure we separate the cost from Access to Metro Now. So you may see this number fluctuate over the course of the next 2 months as we really dig into how to separate out the cost for Metro Now versus the cost for Access. I expect that number, cost per passenger, to go down.
All right, next slide, please. Metro Now. For the month of March, Metro Now ridership continued to climb to just shy of 5,500 riders for the month of March in the 2 zones. An on-time performance pickup rate of 99.5%, and that's calculated as the van arrived within 5 minutes of the scheduled ETA. Weekday ridership on average was 198 passengers. Saturday average was 155.2, and the Sunday average was 110 passengers.
I got to ask on that slide. When I was looking at it yesterday, ridership went up, but then when we look at the days, they all seem flat or down.
February only had 29 days, whereas March had 31 days, so more days in the month.
I'm getting there. I'm trying to get there. Yeah. Okay. Thank you.
Next slide, please. And as a reminder, in the mid-late part of March, the zones did expand slightly. So, for example, the Springdale zone expanded to include Lincoln Heights, as well as a little bit more of Forest Park. So we're starting to see more rides getting picked up in those areas. Typically will take probably a few months for that ridership to reach the level of the other currently served areas. But as with last month, the top area to go to on Metro Now in the Springdale zone was the Woodlawn Kroger. Well, next slide, please. Will show us Northgate.
Answer, what's going on in Joliet?
There's just a group of folks there that love Metro Now. So you see these super users. You see people that are like, I love this. This is my favorite thing. This is how I get around now.
Yeah, my neighbor across the street said the same thing. He said he'll talk to you.
Right. Next slide, please. Northgate zone also slightly expanded to cover a bit more of Galbraith Road and cover a bit more of North College Hill and the Groesbeck area. So the Northgate zone, the top location was the Kroger on Hamilton Avenue by the Cross County Highway in North College Hill. Yeah. Next slide, please. So this last part is the route by route level KPIs. We typically don't go over them in this part of the meeting, but if you have any questions about those, we'll be certainly happy to answer. And if not, thanks for listening.
Following up on my
My
question,
neighbor
but
across the street said that his granddaughters use Metro Now to go to a mall, get dropped off at a mall, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Do we kind of keep track of where? I see a lot of grocery stores. You know, is there are there other places that they tend to frequent?
So it's typically shopping areas. So obviously grocery stores show up in that, but like Walmart's, Target, the Target in Springdale is a high destination there, and it's like a mix. You can't necessarily tell whether they were going there to work or to shop, but you see that mix throughout the day, so it's probably both.
We collect all the data, like origin and destination, so we know exactly where they're being picked up and where they're being dropped off. Just for for these presentations, we kind of like limit the top 5 or 6 destinations. But yeah, we have data on every single trip taken.
Mm-hmm. One of the other things we're really excited about is 20% of the trips are taken to a bus stop.
Yep.
So they're using Metro Now as first mile, last mile to get to different parts of our region.
Is there a bag and or parcel in general restriction on Metro now? So like, for example, on the access, you can only take 2 bags, and I felt like that was gonna be something that would really, if that restriction wasn't on the Metro now, folks that would normally take access to the grocery store, and since there's so many people going to the grocery stores, I'm wondering if that's part of it.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, for Metro now, and precisely for that particular reason, is as many bags as you can carry yourself, handle yourself.
I'm interested. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm sure that's really helpful for folks. Oh, and then also, real quick, one more thing. Sorry, Chelsea. Clover Nook is super grateful.
Yeah.
It's now part of the loop, so
That's part of the expanded zone now.
yeah, they're really excited.
I'm interested in the percentages of how people are requesting Metro now. What are those looking like? And I'm wondering if just intermittently you can share that data.
Yeah, like percentage that are doing.
We have it, we'll bring that to the next committee meeting. So you mean
Whether they're using the phone, the app, right? I'm very
we'll bring that.
So following up on my earlier question, we see an increase in ridership from February to March, but when we look at those averages, we actually see a slight decline. So this would be the first month that I think we've seen a decline, which is really counterintuitive to me. I would think as the weather got better, people would be out more. I thought we would see more ridership. So I think that we should keep an eye on this, see where it's going. You know, I like that steady gain. I just want to make sure we get out ahead of any problems that might be affecting the system.
Yeah, so we have a very effective marketing department, and trust me, we watch this on a daily basis, and we continue to market. One of the other things it's always been extremely interesting to me is how people choose to take their trips. And when it rains, people don't. They take less trips when it rains. And maybe it's the choice trips that they take, and I'm not going to go visit this person, or I'm going to wait till another day. And we've had a lot of rain this year. We've had a ton of rain. But our marketing department, they're absolutely amazing, and they will stay on this. I am positive that this ridership will continue to grow, and it is something that we are watching every day.
Can we get a copy of the loop, you know, because I got a call from Delhi, want to know if we came out to Delhi. And so, you know, if we just get a copy of that loop.
If I may, I'll also add on our website, we have an interactive map. So if someone wants to know if their destination is in that zone, they can go in there and then they can move it around and see where the boundaries are.
Everybody's not tech savvy.
But a lot of people are excited about the service, and I think
Yeah.
we're all getting questions.
We're getting questions now because they love it.
When are the other zones coming in? What's the plan?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm getting those almost daily. So, all right. Thank you very much, Mark.
Thank you.
We got a couple procurements. Andy, are you going to walk us through those?
Yep.
Thank you.
Both very straightforward, and both essentially continuations of existing vendors that we have here at Metro. The first is our Fleet Watch upgrade. You may recall from previous month, we have a system here called Fleet Watch that handles and measures all of our fuel and fluids. That allows for automatic reporting of that information to the fleet, to our systems from a maintenance perspective. We did an upgrade to some of the hardware and software associated with that system in our fixed route system. And this is the spend to do the upgrade and replacement of old materials in our Access and Metro Now system. This was a budgeted project, and the project came in under budget. The second is our first responder network. Essentially, this is our, for lack of a better term, our frequency, our cellular frequency that we use to communicate to all of our vehicles. We had previously been purchasing access to this network on an annual basis. This would be just a 5-year contract to do so. The price per year is unchanged from our current price and does not escalate throughout the course of the 5-year contract. This is basically necessary for us to communicate to all of our vehicles and run all of our CAT ABL and get all the data that we have in the system. We're moving away from our trunked radio system, with towers and repeaters and all those things, and moving toward a cellular network. The first responder network is a special network. You can't get on this network unless you are public service and public safety, and we are eligible for that, and it's only provided through this vendor. So these are both sole source awards, very straightforward. Happy to take any questions. We have folks here that can answer if there are any.
So one of the things I'll point out is the network that we're on for the first responder. So if you've been at a ball game and you can't get service because so many people are on it, the first responder network is a separate network, and it goes through when the normal person's cell phone does not go through.
Any questions? Sounds good to get 5 years locked in without an escalation. And then maintaining all those fluids seems like a necessary thing for all vehicles.
I have a
good question.
slight. Perhaps I'm not sure if this would be an issue or just something to be made aware. So AT&T just went through an extraordinary data breach. It was very extensive. That's concerning to me to award $500,000 to the vendor multiple millions of people had their information hacked in the past 45 days. So that's of concern to me.
Sure. The information that's going across this network is essentially, there's no personal information in here. This is the latitude and longitude of all of our buses. It's the route information. It's we've heard about APCs, ridership information. This is really the vehicle data going back and forth to our dispatchers so they can see these buses. So there's really and that information is also, our real-time data is actually published. So when you use your transit app or use the Google app to determine whether your bus is on time or not, that information is already out there because there's nothing personally identifiable or risky
Even about our operators or anything.
No, I know.
There.
Exactly right.
Okay.
Great question.
Good question, though. Yeah.
I was just going to add to that, the first responder network is actually a separate network from consumer cellular network. So all of the information captured and transmitted on that network is a completely different data farm. It's a completely different physical structure, and it's run as a completely separate business unit from AT&T from their consumer network area. So there are two different areas of safety, cyber safety and cyber security at work at AT&T from First Responder Network and their consumer network.
How many other vendors?
I believe the Cincinnati Police and Fire are on this network as well.
County Sheriff's Office.
Hamilton County Sheriff's Office.
This is a state contract. We procured this through the State Department of Administrative Services. So first responders in the state of Ohio are using this network.
Thank you.
I think these are both probably on the consent agenda unless there's any other thoughts on that. Can we approve them all at once or do we need no? Okay. So I'll move that we approve both of these procurements. Can I get a second? Properly moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say left. Any abstentions? All right, both go on the consent agenda. New business. We've had a little bit more of that these days. I'm curious. Oh, okay. Looks like we'll be out of here before 10. Thank you, everybody. Have a great day. Appreciate you being here.